Good evening and welcome to the Monday meditation for the 18th of May. Today I'd like to start with a bit of honesty. One of the things I found hard during this lockdown is asking for help. When I'm in school, I'm able to be part of a conversation in the common room, or casually ask another teacher for help, or just drop in on my head of department. It's easy to discuss and get advice. Sometimes you don't even know it's happening. A group of people all trying to achieve the same thing naturally reinforce each other. However, in lockdown, it's like I'm in a little bubble, and suddenly my fellow teachers and even vicars are separated from me. They're behind a laptop screen. I can only reach them by traversing the World Wide Web. And now when I need something, or don't understand something, or have fallen behind, no one will know unless I say something, unless I dare to put my hand up and send a message or pick up the phone. That extra step, made in a concrete way that leaves evidence, requires an extra bit of energy, an extra bit of motivation or intention. It's not that I mind asking for help, it's just that it takes more energy and intention to get there. And that's the thing I want us to notice today. Asking for help takes effort. It doesn't feel natural, it's not easy. It's necessary, but it's difficult. Asking for help is necessary, but it's difficult. Why is that? Here are three things I think that asking for help does, and they're all connected with our identity, with who we are or who we think we are. First, asking for help confirms that we can't do things on our own, under our own steam or through our own ideas, talents or knowledge. We can't do things on our own, and so it hurts us when we compare ourselves to others. We imagine that we're the only ones who need help, or that the only way to be special is to manage without help. Either way, when we do ask for help, we feel less significant and smaller than we did before. Asking for help makes someone else part of our success. That's reason number 2 it's difficult. If I had to ask someone for help, then my successes aren't completely my own. I have to thank other people and acknowledge it wasn't all me. And if my successes aren't all my own, then where does that leave my sense of self? Where do I get my affirmation and encouragement? Who am I if I haven't achieved anything on my own? Here's the third reason that asking for help is difficult. Asking for help gives people power over us, or makes us own up to the power that they had over us all along. The teacher who has more knowledge, the friend who takes things in more quickly, the sibling who is stronger than us, the colleague who has a skill we don't, the boss who assesses our work, or the government which sets the rules about how we live. So asking for help has the potential to make us feel insignificant or less than normal. Asking for help has the potential to make us feel less secure, less pleased with ourselves, less sure of who we are. And asking for help has the potential to make us feel a little less in control of our destiny, a little less able to make choices. This week is Mental Health Awareness Week. Let's use that as a case study. Imagine how asking for help with something so key to our day-to-day existence, our thinking and feeling, could make you feel. Imagine how abnormal it could make you feel. Imagine how it must feel to admit that you need help to manage daily life. And imagine the vulnerability in beginning treatment, the power, admittedly for good, that a bit of talking or a few pills seem to have over your health and happiness. It's hard to ask for help. We have to invest in our sense of self and look for value not dependent on our achievements and on our ability to be in control. And that's not easy or simple. Today, I don't want to pretend that there is an easy fix or suggest that Christianity can make this problem go away. But I do want to offer you some encouragement. 3 things I'd like to say. First of all, admitting something is true or noticing a pattern can often be the first and a very significant step. So if I've struck a chord with you today, then hopefully you can relax a bit just by admitting this is true. If you can admit to yourself that you find it hard to ask for help, then you've taken the first step to doing something about it. And you've got a way to explain some of the tension that arises when you feel things are getting tricky. The second piece of encouragement I want to offer you is this. We ask for help for a point. The point is to get better, to be more successful, or to cope well. Sometimes it helps to be really, really clear about the two choices. Either I can rely on myself and make no progress, or I can ask for help and improve. If we'd been in church yesterday, we'd have heard St. Peter exhort the readers of his letter to humble themselves. That means admit that they need help, guidance, motivation, happiness, or something. But he doesn't leave it there. He says, admit that you need God's help so that he can lift you up, help you out, make much of you, praise you, and encourage you. Of course, in school it is only right to recognise the authority of the headmaster. In a hospital, it is only right to recognise the expertise of the doctors and nurses. On an aeroplane, it is only right to acknowledge the role of the pilot and the flight attendants. It is only right they've earned their authority and have been selected for their talents or their expertise. But by recognising them, we do it for our own good, don't we? The headmaster can shape a school culture designed for growth and development if we acknowledge him as our leader. The medical staff can work with you to improve your health, and the aeroplane staff can take you from A to B safely. Peter is saying that it's the same with God. It's only right that we acknowledge the creator and the sustainer of the universe, but that's not the point, at least for God. He doesn't want you to feel small. He wants a way to make you feel special. He doesn't crave power over you. He wants an opportunity to use his abilities for your good. Humble yourself so that you may be exalted, says St. Peter. My third piece of encouragement is this. God did not exclude himself from this pattern, this seemingly universal principle of going down to go up, being small so that you can be big, getting humility so you can find happiness. God doesn't flash on the wear your seatbelt light and then get up and wander around the plane. God doesn't recommend a debilitating chemotherapy for your illness and then refuse it for his own children. God doesn't insist on kindness and then mete out unfair punishment behind the headmaster's door. In fact, in another place in the Bible, we hear that Jesus humbled himself. In one of his letters, St. Paul tells us how Jesus humbled himself from heaven to earth, from power over life to limbs pinned on a cross, and humbled himself to death, sharing in that great universal, that great leveller, we all die. But Paul doesn't stop there. He doesn't stop with humility. Paul goes on to tell us how God then exalted Jesus as the name above every other name. He travelled from heaven to hell. In the pit of despair and destruction, he was brought back to life and had love lavished upon him. Even God goes down to go up. Even God makes himself small to make himself big. And that just leaves me with one question and one final thought. How on earth did Jesus manage all that? How did he manage such great humility when we find it difficult just to ask for help? Well, that's really the topic of another meditation, but I want to leave you with one thought. When the Son of God was in agony on the cross, unable to help himself, with the world and the cosmos against him, and with no sense of the divine, no feeling of his presence or love left, he was still able to call God Father, Daddy, Abba. He was still able to relate to God as a parent, still sure enough of God's friendship to be able to ask him why all this had happened. My God, where have you gone? He says on the cross. Jesus had nothing left but his relationship to his Father. He had no power, he had no success, and he had no one to compare himself to. Isn't it really, really interesting that when we ask for help, we forge new friendships? When we ask for help, we begin to see our enemies in a different light. And when we ask help, we begin to draw closer to God. Amen.